The San Fernando Valley, or what locals refer to as the Valley, is in the northern part of Los Angeles and it's home to almost 2 million people. The south side of the San Fernando Valley meets Westside Los Angeles in the Santa Monica Mountains, where it gets cut off by Mulholland Boulevard. The Valley is where I grew up and I spent so much time in almost every neighborhood there, just spending time at my friends' houses and things like that. So my experience has given me some really good insight on what some of the best neighborhoods in the San Fernando Valley actually are. And one of the most noticeable downsides about living in the Valley compared to other areas of Los Angeles is how hot it can get. Although the summers are short, the average daily temperatures reach up to 91 degrees here compared to about 84 degrees in the rest of Los Angeles. On the other hand, the average daily temperatures in the Valley are only about 2 degrees hotter than the rest of Los Angeles when you compare them year-round. So you're mostly just feeling that extra heat come into effect during the hottest 3 months of the year, June through August. A couple of the notable upsides of living in the Valley is you typically get more bang for your buck compared to areas like Westside Los Angeles and Central LA. And you definitely run into less congestion due to the neighborhoods being more spread out and suburban. Now, I'm not going to say traffic doesn't exist in the Valley, because it definitely does, but you can typically drive more freely around the streets of the Valley and find parking more easily than you'll find in other areas like Westside and Central LA. But anyways, my name's Pearce and I work in real estate in Los Angeles, helping people move from all over. And today we're going to take a look at the top 5 neighborhoods to live in the San Fernando Valley of Los Angeles. Before we begin, I want to point out the geographical location on a map of some of the best areas to live in the Valley. In fact, every neighborhood that I'm going to cover is going to be along either the western or southern end of the Valley. These are usually the areas that'll have easier access to freeways and homes that are built on more hilly locations, which tend to be safer and more well-kept communities to live in. So let's start off with Porter Ranch at number 5. Porter Ranch is located on the northern tip of the valley, surrounded by areas like Granada Hills, Northridge, and Chatsworth. I would consider Porter Ranch as one of the best neighborhoods in Los Angeles to raise a family. I spent my early childhood growing up in Porter Ranch, and I can say it definitely has a very quaint and suburban feel to it. And since I've been born, so many new homes and constructions have come up and been built around Porter Ranch. Most of these homes are built in the quiet, hilly area just north of the 118 freeway, and a lot of them, especially the newer ones, are in some of the 10+ gated communities that are in Porter Ranch. But even without being in a gated community, Porter Ranch neighborhoods are extremely safe. In fact, the top review on niche.com of the crime in Porter Ranch says there's really no crime to speak of. Of course, all areas have a little bit of crime, but Porter Ranch's low crime rate makes it one of the best neighborhoods to choose if you're worried about safety and having a family and things like that. Porter Ranch also has easy access to the 118 freeway, where you can meet up with the 5 or the 405 freeways pretty quickly. And these freeways will take you to the rest of Los Angeles, whether you need to go to the southern San Fernando Valley, downtown LA, or the west side. You can all kind of get to them from this area. It's just a little bit further, where you're going to see it take you almost an hour to get to downtown LA, and at least about 30 minutes or 40 minutes to get to the west side. And while many of the homes in Porter Ranch are brand new, there's also a brand new shopping center that was recently built there. And right next door, you have a shopping center that has a CVS, a Ralph's supermarket, Best Buy, In-N-Out, and more restaurants and things like that. So with these shopping centers and close by businesses, even though Porter Ranch is a very suburban area, it definitely has some of the best locations to shop in all of the Northern Valley. And another thing that's great about Porter Ranch's location is that it doesn't receive a lot of drive-by traffic. Besides people that are commuting on the 118 freeway and maybe going past Porter Ranch down to Simi Valley, you're mostly just going to see residents driving around Porter Ranch, because it's not an area that many people need to go through or be around unless they actually live in the area. So because Porter Ranch is such a safe community with so many new homes, with so many good gated communities to choose from, and such low crime rates, and it's away from the noise of LA, it's a great place to live if you want to be close to LA but don't really need to go into LA on a daily basis. Now at number 4, we're going to cover the neighborhood of Tarzana. Tarzana, which was, yes, named after Tarzan, is located on the southern end of the San Fernando Valley, nestled between Encino and Woodland Hills and backing up onto the Santa Monica Mountains. Tarzana has a fairly large population of immigrants, with only about 60% of the people living there being U.S. citizens. It's one of the better locations in the valley, and of course has close proximity to most of the major areas that you might need to go in the valley. The 101 and Ventura Boulevard run through the flats of Tarzana, so you can quickly reach the 405 freeway and take it over to the west side of Los Angeles, or you can take Topanga Canyon over and actually get to Pacific Coast Highway. One of the reasons Tarzana is so desirable is because of its homes located in the hilly area south of Ventura Boulevard. There are 4 highly desirable gated communities here: Mulholland Park, Monteverde Estates, Silverhawk Ridge, and Braemar Country Club Estates. These are some of the nicest gated communities in the San Fernando Valley, and you'll often see really prestigious business people living there, like doctors and lawyers and things like that. I've actually spent a lot of time in these communities, and I really do love them. I think they're some of the best communities in LA. Many of the estates in these communities are built on the edge of the Santa Monica Mountains with really unobstructed views of the rest of Los Angeles. The median home price of homes listed in Tarzana is just over $1.2 million right now, and you can get some more affordable homes when you look towards the flats or the northern end of Tarzana, and they get a little bit obviously more expensive when you go up in the hills and get towards the southern end where you'll find these gated communities. But overall, Tarzana is an affluent area that has a suburban feel but still has great access to businesses and other areas via Ventura Boulevard and the 101. Moving on to our third neighborhood to live in the San Fernando Valley, we have Calabasas. Calabasas has some key advantages or disadvantages depending on the type of person you are and what your needs are, but I broke these down more thoroughly in my pros and cons of living in Calabasas video. If we look at Calabasas' location, it's definitely on the outskirts of Los Angeles. It's located on the very southwest edge of the San Fernando Valley, and it's surrounded by areas like Hidden Hills, Woodland Hills, and Agora Hills. And if that's not enough hills for you, it's also close to West Hills as well. On the downside, it's going to take about an hour to get to downtown LA from Calabasas and about 30 minutes or more to get to the west side. On the upside, the 101 freeway runs through Calabasas, so at least you have easy access to get in and out of the area. But because its location is further out, Calabasas is a great neighborhood for families just like Porter Ranch. It's filled with dozens of unique and gated communities, and it has tons of celebrities and other prominent people that live in the area. It's very well known, especially because of the Kardashians reality TV show that's based out of there. And in Calabasas, you're going to find some businesses, but they're going to be closer to the 101 freeway and a little bit further away from the actual homes. The majority of what you'll find in Calabasas is just quaint and quiet neighborhoods that are backed up onto the Santa Monica Mountains, very much away from the hustle and bustle of the city. And it's also a very safe area here because your chances of being a victim of a violent crime in Calabasas are less than half of your chances of being a victim of a violent crime in your average California area. It's hard to find any other place in Los Angeles that has as many beautiful communities as Calabasas. It's definitely an area that I would suggest highly if you want to raise a family or just stay away from the noise of the city of Los Angeles. You're still close enough that you can go there, but you're definitely just away in the quiet, surrounded by a lot of neighbors that just want to live a good life like you do. Now at number 2 on our list, we have Sherman Oaks. It's located on the south end of the valley, bordered by Mulholland Drive, and it's next to Encino, Studio City, and Bel Air. Not only is Sherman Oaks one of the most central locations to all of Los Angeles, but it also has many of the major freeways in Los Angeles, all within a quick drive from it. It's so central that it has the 101 and 405 freeways running through it, as well as Ventura Boulevard, and then you also have access to canyons to get over the hill. So you have very good options to go to the west side of Los Angeles, very good options like the 101 to get downtown Los Angeles and central LA, and then you have easy access to the northern parts of the valley if you just want to take the 405 down to the north part of the valley. Sherman Oaks is one of those areas that has tons of businesses and things to do and people working there, but it also has many private and secluded neighborhoods, whether you're in the flats or the hills, making it a great place if you sort of want that mix between the suburban and the city living that you can't always get in other areas. It does have that very nice balance between the two. And because Sherman Oaks is so close to Bel Air, a lot of the estates towards the southern end of Sherman Oaks actually kind of meet close to Bel Air where Mulholland Drive is, so you will see some very gorgeous estates in Sherman Oaks for sure. So one of the biggest sacrifices you're typically making by living in the valley is your location to central things to do in Los Angeles, but I feel like with Sherman Oaks you're really not sacrificing location at all. I went to Notre Dame High School in Sherman Oaks and I just really appreciated the area. There's so many things to do and so many beautiful homes, so I definitely wanted to give it a mention. It's a great neighborhood to live in the valley. And now let's go right around the corner to one of my favorite neighborhoods in the San Fernando Valley. At number 1, Studio City. In my opinion, Studio City is one of the most well-rounded places to live in all of Los Angeles. It's located on the southeast end of the valley, just east of Sherman Oaks, and next to some great locations like Toluca Lake, the Hollywood Hills, and Universal City. Studio City's location is particularly great if you're interested in having easy access to all areas of Los Angeles, just like Sherman Oaks. It literally sits between the Valley, Westside Los Angeles, and Central LA. It's one of these neighborhoods that definitely has beautiful homes that back into the Santa Monica Mountains on the hilly areas, but it also has some gorgeous estates in the flats, especially because it was built around 100 years ago, or it began around 100 years ago. And one of my favorite things about this area is definitely how great the nightlife is. It's a place where you definitely get that suburban and quaint feel to it in the neighborhoods, but you can go right down to Ventura Boulevard and find a bustling nightlife, a ton of people visiting, a ton of people frequenting the businesses there. So you definitely have more of a crowd than you'll get in some of these further out neighborhoods in the valley. Some great bars and restaurants to go to. And don't forget how close you are to some of the other great areas for nightlife. You're basically a 15-minute drive over the hill to get to West Hollywood or Hollywood, which are locations that can be harder to get from a lot of other areas in the valley. And many of these Studio City neighborhoods are just particularly beautiful. You know, a little bit because of the trees, a little bit because of the types of builds you'll find there, and a little bit just because of the area, but it all just blends together to make a really nice neighborhood to live in. With that being said, it can get a little bit expensive here, with the median home value being around $1.8 million right now, but it is one of the most desirable neighborhoods to live in the valley for a reason. And if I had to pick one neighborhood to live in the valley as my top neighborhood to live, Studio City would have to be it. Mostly because of personal preferences, but also just because of my experience with the valley and the different neighborhoods. Studio City really gives you the best of everything. So there you have it, my top 5 neighborhoods to live in the San Fernando Valley: Porter Ranch, Tarzana, Calabasas, Sherman Oaks, and Studio City. And I also wanted to give a quick honorable mention to a few other great neighborhoods in the valley: West Hills, Chatsworth, Encino, and Woodland Hills. The San Fernando Valley has some of the best neighborhoods to live in Los Angeles, and most of these neighborhoods have everything you need for daily life. If you like being part of city life and action, then I always suggest being in neighborhoods closer to Ventura Boulevard towards the south end of the San Fernando Valley. And if you want more overall quiet and suburban neighborhoods that are away from the hustle and bustle of the city and great places to raise a family, then I suggest neighborhoods around the west and north end of the San Fernando Valley. And if you're interested in learning more about these neighborhoods, please feel free to reach out to me using my information in the description below. My name's Pearce, and I work in real estate in Los Angeles, helping people move from all over. If you found any of the information in this video valuable, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because I will be posting weekly videos updating people about living in Los Angeles and its different neighborhoods.